Unlock the power of AI in marketing with our new series, AI Agent. Dive into the world of SaaS tools, discover how marketing pros deploy bots, and explore the best use cases for AI in your marketing strategy. Only on Marketing in the Age of AI podcast with Emanuel Rose.
Thanks for joining me today. Looking forward to a great conversation with Stan Shields. And as part of the Agent series, remember to go to emmanuelrose.com and download the ebook, which is a compilation of some of the best strategies that we've covered up to this point in the Agent series. But today, I'm really happy to welcome Marketing in the Age of AI. We got Stan Shields, who's the founder of Novacore Marketing. And Stan's got, he says over 40 years, I don't know how that's possible, of business experience and 3 years completely immersed in AI. Stan specializes in helping local businesses streamline operations with cutting-edge automation solutions. His AI employee suite featuring voice AI, web chat AI, and reviews AI ensures businesses never miss a call, engage their visitors instantly, and manage online reviews effortlessly. And I'm really happy to have this conversation about local business, local marketing, local implementation of AI. Stan, thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so you and I share an affinity for local businesses. We are the backbone of the American economy, and we are also overwhelmed with all the change that is happening in the world and in marketing.
It is crazy.
Now, you have an interesting background in that I think you started your career in HR, which means you have a high emotional intelligence usually. But then you kind of cut your teeth in automation, I think, when you were working in martial arts. And tell us that story a little bit.
Yeah, actually, I cut my teeth in automation when I was working in HR, believe it or not.
Wow.
It goes all the way back to the days of Lotus 123. Remember that?
Oh boy. Oh, Lotus, of course.
Well, you know that guy that's always the guy in the office that just knows computers. He's not the official computer guy, but he just knows computers,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
and is willing to dive in. Well, I was that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The helper.
Yeah, exactly. And so right out of college, I was working for the federal government. And in fact, I was working in the affirmative action office where we had to create these affirmative action plans. And we used to process all these numbers by hand. And I'm sitting here looking at this and I said, guys, we have this tool over here called Lotus 123. It can calculate numbers for us way easier.
Yep.
And so I built a massive spreadsheet in Lotus 123 that went from page A, because Lotus was ABC for the tabs, and Excel came out and changed it to numbers, right? But I built this massive spreadsheet from sheet A through sheet L. And so you could enter all the specific data by region, and then the sheet would actually take all the data and it would massage it and build the report that we needed. It would use macros and all of that stuff to put it in a format for it to be printed the way that we wanted, and then put everything back. And my bosses fell in love with the thing.
Love it.
And we then shared it through the whole agency. So that was really my first start into automation kinds of stuff, right? And it just continued from there. I've used so many different tools over the years to build out databases and to create automations that would help us do things easier while I was in those roles, right? And so when I bought the martial arts business, it was just kind of a natural extension of using the automations, right? That I was already used to doing. So the two pieces of software I put in place immediately when I bought the martial arts school was QuickBooks to keep in track of the numbers.
Sure.
And I used, at that time, I think I was using, I'm forgetting the name of it. It was one of the CRMs that was for small businesses. You know, there used to be Goldmine, and there
Yep.
was gosh,
Act.
Act is what I was using.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
you go.
Okay, Act is what I was
We're
using.
like software historians now, you and
Exactly,
I.
right? Exactly. So, and then just built from there, you know.
Yeah. But it was a pretty sophisticated sequence of email that you built out, as I
Oh,
recall.
oh,
Tell
ye that email sequence for the martial arts business, and that was a couple of software applications down the line, but I had one where people that responded to our online marketing and whatnot for kids programs, that once they got into that sequence, it was 75 emails strong, right? And
nice.
every
Yep.
week we were giving them some kind of a tip on either, parenting, raising kids, just, keeping kids engaged and just interacting with their kids and all of that kind of stuff. And it was pretty sophisticated. When I look back at it now, I go, I haven't built anything like that since.
Yeah, well, 75 emails deep is a lot, and
Yeah.
it's that was in kind of in the early days of email marketing too. And
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
well, that's interesting. So I really like to break these things down into three sections now. One is kind of executive efficiency and what you're doing on a personal level. So what tools are you using kind of on a daily basis in order to get your work done?
Well, there's a couple of tools. So Chat GPT is one of the main tools that I use on a daily basis. And along with some of the other language models, I like Claude a lot because
Yep.
it tends to write better than what Chat GPT does, in my opinion. I'll use Gemini, and then there's few others that might be obscure things that a lot of people may not use, like Opus Clips. I use it for
Sure.
creating clips that can be on YouTube and TikTok and whatever, those kinds of things. And then High Level is one of my favorite tools. That's actually where my CRM is. That's where I've created a CRM for local businesses and all of that. And that's where I've created my AI employee product and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So
What about for from your connections and your automations inside your operation? What are you using for that?
that's all High Level.
I love.
It is. It's everything from a form coming in, that if I've put something out, a landing page, or even my calendar automation, right? It's all of that is High Level because some people get annoyed by this, right? But they say, "Hey, can you meet next week at?" And I go, "I don't know. Here's my link." Because
Right.
I hate to say to somebody, "Yes, I can do it." Now, if I'm right in front of my computer and they say that, or I'm someplace where I can look at the phone and go, "Oh yeah, we could meet at this date time." Boom, I'll book it myself right there on the device. But if they're not sure or whatever, I say, look, just go to my link and book it, right?
Yep.
And when they do that, the automation takes care of the rest. It sends them a confirmation. It will send them reminders for
Sure.
the appointment. And I'll tell you, that simple step has cut down no-shows tremendously,
Nice.
right?
Yep.
Because people forget, right? People get busy. They get, and I've done it myself. I'm sitting at my desk, I'm doing things, and I'm all into what I'm doing, and I'm not paying attention to the time. And then next thing you know, I miss the darn meeting because I'm all into what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
that's why I love the pop-up reminders, the things that come up and tell me, hey, you're supposed to be doing this.
Right.
Okay, good, perfect. So
Email, text, pop-ups, whatever it takes, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Hmm.
So then a lot of the innovation, I mean, the agents that you're using is already baked in to go high level.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
got you. Well,
Hmm.
that's cool. And is that where you built this AI employee suite of tools?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Well, yeah. Talk to a little bit about what that AI employee looks like.
Sure. High Level has a lot of tools, and there's more that are in there. But the reality is most business owners don't really care about the tools. They just want the result. Right?
Outcomes, right? Absolutely, we want outcomes.
I don't really care about all the tools, right?
For
So,
sure.
so what I did is I looked at that and I said, okay, what are the 3 tools that I understand the best, that I can authentically talk about, can really speak to and implement well? And I said, this one of the things is the voice AI that's in there. Well, answering the phone for believe it or not, these, and I'm sure you've seen this, believe it, a lot of people don't answer their phone, right?
Yeah.
And
Like, just call a restaurant before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? You're like,
yes, right. And it just doesn't get answered, right?
Yeah.
And leaving voicemails quite often doesn't get a response back, right?
No.
And so that's a problem. And so there's a couple of industries that really stood out to me right off the bat. One is real estate, and part of the reason for that is because my lady friend is a realtor as
There you
well,
go. Yeah.
and they have this really unique challenge because when they get a house listing, they post a sign right in the yard, and that
Yeah.
sign has their picture and their phone number, and all their contact info is on that thing, right? So
Yeah.
what do they get? They get tons of spam calls. They get people trying to sell them stuff, right? Quite often it has nothing to do with the property itself, right? So getting all of those calls throughout the day is very disruptive to the agent, and they need to somehow weed through those. And so this voice AI is a thing that can help with that. The other big use case that's in my mind is martial arts schools. I
Sure.
lived it personally
Yeah.
because the mom is looking for classes. She gets on and she's calling, and this one doesn't answer, so she calls the next. That one doesn't answer, she calls the next. And
Right.
then by the time me live this, by the time I get to my school in the evening and I call them back, they say, "Oh, we already signed up with such and such."
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So you completely miss out on business because nobody answered the phone.
Right. We
Right?
call it speed to lead right now,
That's
right?
correct.
Like, you
That's
need,
correct.
within 5 minutes of them being interested, you've got to get in touch with them.
And that's a concept, and that's a statistic that a lot of businesses really don't understand, and they don't even know that that's there, right?
Right.
But I forget what all the stats are, but it goes up astronomically if you can get back to them within 5 minutes of
It's
that.
85% close rate if
There
you're
you go,
within
right?
the
See,
5 minutes. Yep.
it's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that was where the voice AI could really make a difference. And I was shocked, honestly, at how good it was, because once this thing actually gets on and starts having the conversation, and it can be set up to book the appointment
Right.
or send the link to them. If somebody's ready to actually sign up for whatever it is you're offering, it can send the link to them. It's just phenomenal with what it can do with that. And I said, holy moly, that can actually be a complete game changer
For
for a
sure.
lot of these businesses, right?
Yep.
And then the follow-up to that is really the web chat AI, because a lot of people, we're in a society today where people would rather text than talk.
Yeah. Well, part of that's because the millennials are such a big force in
That's
the
right.
culture, right?
That's right. And so web chat AI is actually even smarter than the voice chat, because web chat actually will read the company's website. It'll
Yep.
read FAQs that are inside of Google Docs or wherever, right? But it'll read all this information, and now it can respond faster than even the voice can, right?
Yep.
With coming back with the responses and whatnot. And so that was a natural extension. And in my mind, it's one of those that you say, okay, let's have voice chat started it, but voice chat could send them to a page on the website.
Right.
And you can then really kind of continue the conversation, right? Over there
Yeah.
on the website. And so I thought those two would go really well together. And then, of course, with reviews, local businesses really thrive on reviews, right? Because that's where do people go? They find out about a business. First thing they do is they go to their phone and they look them up, and they look to see what kind of reviews do they
Yep.
have, right?
Distance, for me, it's distance first, Reviews second, right?
That's right. That's right. That is exactly right. And so if they go look at these reviews, then you want to see that there are actual reviews there and that they're good reviews, right? Or at least that the business owner has responded to anything that might be negative, that they've at least responded to
Sure.
those, because that then becomes a mitigating factor, right? And
Yeah.
so the AI will, well, automation will help with sending those reviews out on a regular basis, so that you're asking for the reviews, because
Right.
that's what businesses don't do enough of. They don't ask for the review. Then secondly, once the person puts a review, AI can respond to the review, right?
Right.
And so that now every review gets a response, and it gets a timely response, right?
Love that.
So
And are you doing the review response through GHL also?
yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's cool.
all of it is. Yeah.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a pretty powerful suite. What's kind of price range you talking about on a product like that, Stan?
It's going to be, well, it starts at $397 a month, up to probably $597 a month, so $600 a month. And compare that to, what would it cost you to hire employees to
Sure.
cover, right?
Right.
24 hours a day, right? Response like that, right?
Can't do it.
You
Yeah.
can't do it, right? And compare that to, what would it cost you for answering services? Most answering services aren't going to do all of those services anyway. They typically are just going to answer the phone and take a message and then give it to business owner the next day, right?
Yeah.
So it goes way beyond the typical answering service, and it is way more efficient and cost effective than trying to hire employees to
For sure.
cover for that time.
Yeah, it's way more consistent. It's way more accurate, and it's on 24/7. So
Exactly.
which is really the beautiful application of an AI agent. Because
That's right.
It's something that you're not already paying somebody to do, because you can't.
That's
And,
right.
and it should be able to fill, at the very least, the top of the sales funnel, and
That's
most
right.
likely start to make sales also.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's innovative. I love how you narrowed down on certain pieces of this AI agent in order to be the most productive for an
Mm-hmm.
SMB. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool innovation. How do people get in touch with you if they want to have a conversation about it?
Well, easy. Just go to bestaiemployee.com.
Love that. That's good
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, one of my buddies looked at that and he goes, "How did you get that name?" I said, I lucked out, because
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes.
the name I wanted was AI employee, but it was taken.
Yeah.
And so then therefore, just kind of my whole naming strategy, I start to then think about, okay, what can I put in front of it or after it that would make sense? And
Right.
best, that one also came about because I try to look for terms that might be significant from an SEO standpoint, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And you could easily see people go in and say, what's the best AI employee?
For sure. Love that. Well, okay, so you got those three things.
Mhm.
Is there anything else on your horizon or on your view for like adding to that stack in the next 6 months or year?
Not necessarily to that, but I do have the local CRM product. I call it
Okay.
Novacore CRM, and
Yeah.
it's really designed for local businesses, right? Because most local businesses don't have any kind of a CRM in place,
Yep.
and they don't really understand how to use it and what it can actually do for them, right?
Sure. Yep.
And quite often it's one of those things of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So they already have systems that work and they're doing their thing with regard to that. But at some point, like I've got a solar guy that just signed up, and this guy is like, look, he goes, I know I'm missing business because I've got all these appointments, and he follows up 1 or 2 times, and he says he has a 3 contact rule at least, but the point with a CRM is now your contact can go way beyond 3 touches,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
because well, we've heard all these stats about how many touches does it take to make a sale, right?
In the old days, it was 7 to 10.
Right.
Now it's well over 25.
I would see you and I agree on that, because
Yep.
I've seen some things that says, well, it's 20 touches. And I go, nah, to me, it's more like 25 or 30, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
And those touches could be anything. They could be social media. They could be a phone call. They could be an email or a text or whatever.
Yep.
But people are way more jaded these days. They don't believe anything. So they need to somehow build this know, like, and trust factor. And
Yep.
the more that you can share stuff with them, share case studies, share success stories, share something that now that starts to help to build, right? And video to me is like the best thing ever that everybody ought to be using, but
I
a lot of
agree.
people are still
100%.
afraid of it, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I know small business owners are very shy for some reason.
Yeah. No,
Well, I
so
love
like,
the CRM. So what kind of makes it a small business or a local CRM in the way you designed it, Stan?
so just trying to keep it simple for them,
Okay.
because one, if it's too complicated, they're not going to use it.
Yep.
Two, if it doesn't adapt to how they run their business, they're not going to use it, right?
Gotcha.
And
Yep.
so as you probably know, Go High Level has so much that's in there that you could get lost in everything that's in there,
For
right?
sure. Yep.
So it's really not about selling that. It's about what is it that you're doing in your business, and how are you communicating with your prospects and your customers, and how would you like to communicate with them, right? And so literally it's keeping it simple and sharing the pieces that make sense for their business, right?
Yep.
Not everything,
For
because
sure.
it's just not going to make sense to them.
And
And
so
it's
then
too overwhelming.
yeah, for sure. Even for me, it's overwhelming. There's just too
Yeah.
many modules.
Yeah.
But are you then helping with the deployment and the some of the
Mhm.
sequencing and
Mhm.
how they should actually be using it?
Yeah. So what I do is I have the base price for that is 97, and then a 197 is the basic setup. And that basic setup just gets the account really up and running. Everything's doing what it's supposed to do. Phone number, the A2P registration and all the stuff that has to happen with that. But then it'll set up that includes a calendar setup, so that they've got at least one calendar option that's in place with a follow-up sequence. It
Nice.
just gives them the core stuff that they would need to get it started. Now,
Yep.
then there would be, they can then hire us to do additional things in terms of setting up landing pages and even I don't build websites. I'm not really a website builder, but it's got that stuff in there, right? That
Yep.
I get somebody else to do it, because I'm not a website builder. And people look at me and they go, these are really nice sites. You did a great job. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a website builder.
That's right. You stay focused on what you're good at, right? Yeah.
That's it. So
that's where the gray hair comes from.
That's right. That's right. Just because I know how to do it doesn't make me it, right?
For
But
sure.
no,
Yeah.
let's stick to where my real strength is.
Love it. Well, that's critical. I love it. So then how big of a company, how big do you need to be able to integrate that CRM?
It could be one person. It could be, it could be any size, really. Well, I say any size. When you start getting into, you know, I don't know, let's say past 50, 100 employees, whatever, then it kind of changes, their needs change and all of that kind of stuff. And the whole dynamic changes, right? But my stuff is really geared towards that small business. And I should even call it micro business, right? Like 5 employees, 10 employees. That's the group that I'm actually going after, and the ones that I want to work with, right? Because then you start getting into higher end CRMs, like Salesforce and everything else that's out there. And, you're competing against all of those, which I think that this can compete very well against all of those, but it does take a lot more build out, right? It's a lot more time, and the expense for a bigger company isn't the real issue, but it's time, right? And that's where it can get crazy, because then while high level can do just about anything that people want, and I say just about because people like to say all in one, and I say there's no such thing as an all in one, because there's always something that isn't in there that you need, right?
Always.
I ran into a situation with high level for a customer that they needed a specific application. It was more project management, so we ended up using ClickUp because it just didn't do what we needed to do, right? So but we integrated it with ClickUp so that the two can talk to each other and all that. And that's another thing that I do with this, is I understand the automation in terms of integrating software so that we can pass data from one to the other and back and forth and all of that. So quite often, whatever other software people have, I can usually integrate it and work with it.
Yeah, that is critical. And the low code, no code connectors have been a real game, the game changer.
That's right.
In what the work we do. And it's, we're so lucky to have access to that now.
Exactly, right?
There's no software problem that can't be solved.
That's right.
Even for guys like us who are not coders,
that's right.
We just love technology, right?
That's right.
Well, Stan, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing all those with me, all the stories and in your processes.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I appreciate it. And, I'm always excited to talk about technology and AI and all of that with people like you. So this has been fun. I really enjoyed this.
Well, I appreciate your insights, and I wish you the best of luck with the AI, the best AI employee.
That's right.
All right. Well, hang on for a second. Let me close this up, and I'll be right back with you.
All right.
Okay. Well, there you go. Stan's got an amazing product, amazing group of products that not just all small businesses need, but all of us as business managers need, which is helping our prospects and our customers get the information they need when they want it and as thoroughly as possible. That's what the voice in the chat is capable of doing now. So thanks for checking in today, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.